And welcome back. Indeed, you're watching your home of business. This is KTN Financial Markets Live, and my name is Boni Tunya. Now, time for our afternoon business chat. And in studio, I'm joined by George Ototo, who is the Managing Director at KUSCCO Limited. Now, karibu sana to the show, George.
Thank you, Boni.
Yes, KUSCCO is the umbrella body for savings and credit cooperative societies. What exactly is your mandate?
Indeed, it is true. But what you need to realize is that before KUSCCO was created, there were Saccos.
Okay.
And there is empirical evidence of the importance and the contributions of the cooperative movement in this country.
Yes.
Now, KUSCCO is just an acronym of Kenya Union of Savings and Credit Cooperatives. It is the umbrella body of Saccos in this country.
Correct.
That is the financial cooperatives in this country. Now, one of our key mandates is actually advocacy and also representation of Saccos within the country and also outside the country.
Yes.
As a result of this mandate, we also offer financial and technical services to Saccos in this country.
Indeed. Now, George, something very interesting that has caught my eye this morning. You were talking about a central fund for Saccos. What's that about?
Well, the Central Finance Fund of KUSCCO was a creation of Saccos in the year 1989. And the intention here was to assist Saccos access credit cheaply, because we had realized that the mainstream financial institutions were actually raising or at times the interest rates, more so the borrowing interest rates, were always fluctuating.
Yes.
As a result of that, they came up with this fund where Saccos contribute savings into this fund. Those who have excess save with us, and then they borrow 3 times their savings. It is just basically the Sacco model.
Yes.
Yes.
Now, what's special about this fund? You're talking about raising, pulling together funds to the region of 10 billion shillings. I mean, who gets this fund? What are the priority projects?
Well, Boni, that is very true. As I have told you earlier, this fund is meant to help Saccos access credit cheaply at wholesale prices, sort of.
Yes.
The main beneficiaries of this fund are actually the members of the Saccos. Saccos access it cheaply and then on lend to their members between the rates of 12 to 15%.
So it's a Sacco within a Sacco?
It is a Sacco for Saccos, rather, in this context. Yeah.
What are some of the areas that, what's the threshold? What are some of the requirements you will be looking at before you extend such kind of facility to a Sacco?
We just normally do the normal due diligence. If that Sacco exists, if it operates a bank account, for example, who are the officials? Do they have the borrowing powers? Do they have financial statements for the past 3 years, for example? Yes, those are the issues that we are looking at. But it's also true that we want to increase this fund from the current 4 billion to 10 billion shillings.
Yes.
Our main intention here is to enable Saccos to continuously access finances cheaply. Yes.
Interesting. Something else that about Saccos that have made news, there's the summit that is coming up.
Yes.
And of course, Saccos have come under fire. I just read a report earlier, I think in one of the dailies, that SASRA has suspended some officials from various Saccos across the country. So there is the issue of management. There's a summit you're bringing about. What's the summit about?
This summit is about alternative financing. We are talking about alternative finances. We want Saccos to discontinue accessing credit for on-lending to members from the banks.
Yes.
You've seen the behavior of the interest rates in the recent past in
Very
this country
volatile.
from around October last year.
Yes.
Quite volatile. And Saccos normally do not adjust their interest rates based on the treasury bills rates. And their rates are also not dictated by the central bank in this country.
Yes.
And you realize that Saccos that had actually borrowed for on-lending from the banks have really suffered the increase in interest rates, which normally come without prior notice to these Saccos.
Yes.
Now, that is why we've come up with this summit. We want to look for alternative financing. We are going to call quite a number of financial partners to exhibit, and also we will link quite a number with the Saccos so that they can on-lend to these Saccos at cheaper rates to enable these Saccos continue lending cheaply. You may not be aware. I don't know whether you belong to a Sacco, but I do believe you do.
Yes.
Thank you very much.
Everyone in Kenya, you can't survive without a Sacco.
They are saying that the youths are averse about Saccos. Now, what we have done is that these institutions that are coming will be linked with the Saccos for on-lending to these Saccos to retail finally to their members. Saccos, if you are not aware, lend between 12% and 15% on reducing balance basis. So effectively, the effective interest rate in this case comes to about 7.2% on average. Compare that with the current lending rates that they from loans that they have access to the banks. You will realize that if we were to kind of say that every money that comes into a Sacco does not go into a pool and must have a rubber stamp, then if we were to identify that borrowing with where we have on-lent it to the member, then that would be an automatic loss. But we are looking at a situation where we look at the overall weighted average cost of funds in the Sacco. So it still goes down, but then it leaves the Sacco with very squeezed margins to operate with. Yes.
Of course, the Saccos have become popular. You've just mentioned it. Even young people are getting into Saccos. But then let's talk a bit about the management. Saccos have also come on the spotlight about instances where they have poor management. Looking at the industry and the kind of organizations that work under your umbrella body, what can you comment about the kind of management that we have now in Kenyan Saccos?
Now, let's derive the comparison from what used to happen in the past. Yes, it is true that in the past, that is up to late 90s, we used to have issues of bad corporate governance. That was a fact. And you could easily see some of these appearing in the print media quite frequently. But if you've been following up the trend, you may have realized that the trend has so far declined. If you look at the number of cases reported at the Commissioner of Cooperatives desk, you will also realize that the complaints have significantly dropped.
What are the kind of complaints that are coming through?
You also mentioned the issue of what appeared on today's the Business Daily and also basically on the Business Daily today on SASRA suspending some officials of certain Saccos. That is also true. But sometimes back in 2008, the Kenya government and in consultation with the stakeholders in the cooperative movement came up with what we call the Sacco Act 2008. And subsequently in 2010, we came up as stakeholders together with the Kenya government, what we call the Sacco regulations 2010. This was to kind of restore the public confidence and also to supervise the operations of these Saccos. And as a result of implementation of the same rules, I do believe that is the reason why some of these officials were suspended, as you've seen in the dailies today. But coming back to the issues of management of these Saccos, what I can tell you is that the management or good corporate governance practices have significantly improved. One, as a result of a lot of sensitization that has been done by KUSCCO over time through its education and training programs, where we train Sacco members on their rights and obligations, the Sacco officials, the Sacco staff, because as you know very well, as we go to school in primary, secondary, we rarely learn too much about the cooperatives. But now when they get jobs in these institutions, because they are alternative employers, then that's when we start training them on how to manage the Saccos.
So basically, management has improved over time.
It has improved over time quite a lot, and that's why you don't see a lot of complaints coming up.
My director tells me we need to wind it. I wanted to squeeze a question, but then I think we'll take that offline. But indeed, so basically Kenyans can look up for more opportunities to invest and more meaningful investments in Saccos.
Let's look at all the benefits that we have derived from the Saccos. You realize that Saccos have helped Kenyans educate their children, have helped Kenyans put up houses, acquire properties, and also even to spend on social issues like maybe dowry or something like that. So the best avenue through which this country can develop is through Saccos, because one, it encourages the savings, and without savings you can never invest in a country and you can never develop. Number two, you can easily access cheap credit whose interest rates does not vary according to the treasury bill rates. Yes.
Of course, my question was if the comparison way forward banking versus Saccos, but you've clearly put your case forward, and indeed the future is Saccos for Kenyans. Indeed, if you've been watching, this has been your home of business, KTN Financial Markets Live. We've been talking to George Ototo, who's the MD at KUSCCO, talking to us about the advancement in the world of Saccos in Kenya. Now, stay tuned for in KTN for a later bulletin, that is KTN Live Today, where we'll be looking at other business news making headlines in both locally and internationally. My name is Boni Tunya. Do you have a lovely afternoon?